Hello, I'm Jade, and welcome to La Quinta Book Fest Revisited. Since we were unable to host BookFest 2021 here at the library, we thought we'd reconnect with previous panelists to see what they've been up to and talk about their latest projects. I spoke with Ivy Pochoda about her middle grade books, Epica, the Tree of Ecrof duology, a collaboration she did with Kobe Bryant, which are about kids trying to save their world while attending a magical sports academy. We also spoke about her latest novel, These Women, a dark and beautiful novel that explores the lives of 6 women affected by the violence of a serial killer in South Los Angeles. So with that, get comfy and please enjoy this segment of BookFest Revisited. Well, hi Ivy, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to be back here, although virtually.
Yeah. So before we talk about your books, which I can't wait to talk about, what have you been up to this past year? It's been a hard year for everyone, but I've loved watching your Instagram and following you on social media, so it's fun to see all your adventures.
I haven't been up to a lot more than the average person. I've been stuck at home. I released 2 books, one of which is behind you during this year. So it was really strange to go through that experience while not leaving the house. I have a 6-year-old daughter who I've been helping through, kindergarten virtually, which is really interesting, but it's a lot. So I've just traditional pandemic stuff, cook, eat, school, repeat, rinse, repeat every day. Yeah. Getting a little work done, but
Yep, same. Just keep trucking along, right?
Yeah, cooking some weird stuff and putting it on social media, though I've sort of fallen behind on that project. So maybe tonight.
Nice. Well, let's talk about your work. I want to talk a little bit about this book. How do you say the title?
Epica.
Epica. Okay, I wasn't sure. I was like, I'm going to say this wrong, so I better ask her.
Thank you for asking.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I'm super excited to, because I can't say that I, as a kid, read very many sports-related fiction.
It's not really. You'll be very surprised. It's not really sports related. I mean, yes, it's totally sports related, but
that world.
That's sort of not the point of the book. It's a book I wrote with Kobe Bryant, for people who don't know. And it's more like, it's that sort of like, not to like run down what you said, but that's like saying, I didn't read books about magic as a kid, but I like Harry Potter's not about magic. It's about like friends at a school and all this stuff. So like the sports are secondary, and the sport that this is about is track and field. So it's not like super jockey or like, there's not a lot of scenes of like, inside baseball sports business. It's really a book about like kids, saving the world at their magical sports academy.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to it. And how did you get involved with this? I mean, I can't even imagine getting a phone call or some sort of note from Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, well, I can. Someone at his office, a really long time ago. Time is really strange now. Maybe, let's see, my daughter is 6, so maybe when she was 1, 1.5. So like it'll be 5 years ago this June. It was during the NBA playoffs. I remember someone from his office emailed me, and I don't know how they had my email, and was like, Kobe Bryant wants to call you about a project tomorrow morning. Can we have your phone number? And I thought, well, this sounds really weird. But I do some ghostwriting, and I'm an athlete, so maybe it has something to do with that. And lo and behold, he called me at 9 a.m. the next morning, and he had this idea for this books that he wanted to write. And we talked for like an hour, and we hit it off really well. He'd read Visitation Street, another novel of mine that's came out in 2013, and he knew that I was a ex-professional athlete and had a degree in classical Greek and Latin, which is like the 3rd criterion he wanted for this person he was looking for. And I think I'm like the only person in the world, or at least in America, who is a published novelist with a degree in classics and plays high-level professional sports. So we started working together, and we did the first book, which is behind you. And then right before he passed away, we had finished the first draft, or I write them. He just sort of comes up with these ideas. We work really closely together at the idea section, and then I sort of go off and write. he and I had just gone over some changes he wanted for the second draft second draft of the second book when he died. So that was something else that I had to work on a lot this year. That was really, really hard. He died about 6 weeks before the shutdown. Mm-hmm. And so, it was very disorienting. Like I didn't know what we were doing. And, then part of, the pandemic that I had to work really hard was I worked with Vanessa Bryant and to sort of fix the last book in case we don't do any more, which seems likely. So that was a big part of my pandemic. And then releasing the book during the pandemic, my book was one way, but like doing his book was really strange because the media attention was extraordinary. And like Access Hollywood and all this stuff, like TMZ. It was weird and really sad. But it was great. So.
Yeah. Now, most of your stuff it's been for adults. So was that not difficult, but was that just kind of a different transition to writing for middle grade, for kids?
Yeah. It's not harder. It's just different. Like you can't mess around. Like there's no moments where I'm like, oh, this chapter, I'd really like to spend some time making people, feel any which way about something, a certain which way about something, or like, let's try to really like work on like conjuring the feeling of like, idea like Los Angeles during the pandemic, like what the emptiness of those streets feels like. It's like no, you got to keep moving in the plot. It's not interesting. Like so, it was much more of I had to learn how to like every scene has to advance the plot forward, but also be engaging. And like that's not how I tend to write. So actually, it was really useful to learn how to do that. But yeah. New skill set acquired.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Well, okay, now I want to talk about, I finished it last night. These women, it's so good. It's a knockout. I love Wonder Valley, and we read it, I think, for book club not long before you came for Book Fest. And I loved it. I loved Wonder Valley, and your writing it just draws you in. I had to like force myself to not just plow through this book because I was like, this book it has so many layers and I don't want to just read it like in a night because I just wanted to savor it, and it's an Edgar Award nominee and an LA Times Book Prize finalist. Congratulations.
I know, win something this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
I know, like I feel like I'm so honored to be nominated, but I'm like, why did I get nominated the year there's like open bar and like all the parties? It's like I get to do it from home.
Yeah, you can't like really celebrate.
It doesn't take away from it at all, but I'm like, I want to see my friends and at these events. But yeah, no, it's a book set in my neighborhood, which is very weird because like I spend a ton of time in my neighborhood now. Like all I do is walk around my neighborhood. I don't go anywhere. So like when these women came out, I was completely sort of almost overwhelmed by the sense of like suffocation that like I wrote about this place and I'm stuck here and I'm walking the beat of the book. It was really, it was really interesting actually.
Yeah. Can you tell our readers a little bit about it for those that haven't had a chance to read it
yet? Yeah, so These Women is, I like to call it sort of an unconventional serial killer story in which it's about a serial killer who is preying on women in South LA. And he's not really the main part of the story. It's about 5 women, well, technically 6, who are living in the wake of his violence. So some of them are close to him for reasons I'm not going to go into because that will give it away. Some of them have been recipients of his violence or their family members have been killed by him. Some of them are like targets, potential targets. But it's really about their lives and their survival and the way that these women are ignored conventionally, both in like the real world and in literature. I think we do, like victims are quite convenient, in books. We like to have dead bodies because then a story can, evolve from that. But like what's super cool, I think, is to like figure out who that person is before she is, killed and dismissed. So this is a book that I like to call a serial killer novel, which I punched a serial killer size hole in the story because like he's sort of like just missing from the book for the most part, and it's not really relevant who the killer is. What is relevant what he has done and how that has affected a large group of people from various socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yeah, I loved just getting to see all the different women and getting their different viewpoints and then just kind of seeing them interact with each other throughout the book, much like characters did in Wonder Valley. And I wanted to ask, so did you plan to set it up kind of how you did with Wonder Valley with multiple viewpoints, or did you initially have like one or two characters that you were going to start with?
No, I did set it up that way. That's how I write. I try not to, but it's just easier for me. And I think like, why should writing be hard? Like, why should I try to do something I'm not good at?
Yeah.
Like, I tried in the book I'm writing now to write like linearly from one character's perspective, and I'm like, oh, enough with her. Like, let's find another person. Another person. So, I definitely knew that I wanted to have different perspectives. In Wonder Valley, I kind of didn't know what I was doing, so I have to be honest about that. But in this book, I knew that I wanted to write about this issue of like women victims of a serial killer, and I knew that I should show from different points of view because like it's different for different people. I'd watched this documentary called Tales of the Grim Sleeper about a serial killer, very similar to the one that I created in this book. And you see different aspects, like you see family members, you see victims. And I thought, you know, it's hard to get a complete picture of anyone unless we see it from different angles. Unlike Wonder Valley, I did know that I wanted to write it in like blocks. So, you know, we follow one woman, and that story, all the stories feel complete to me. Like, of course you want to like add them together and see what happens at the end, but like I wrote it in blocks. So Wonder Valley would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 6, 9, you know, alternating. And then this one's like one story, another story, another story, another story. And so you take each woman through a day or 2 days in one or two cases. So that was my outline. I mean, literally, that was my whole outline. I just
Well, it's truly stunning. It's like I said, it's a knockout of a book. I loved it so much, and I want to like make it one of our book club picks next year or something. So I was like, well, I need to talk about this book with other people because it's so good. Now you dedicated it to Felicia Stewart, and I was wondering if you could tell me a little more about her.
You're the first person who's ever asked me about that. I can't believe it. Great. She is she was my best friend's mother. And she was a pioneer in women's reproductive health. She was on the team that invented RU486, the abortion pill, which is not relevant to this story. But what is relevant is she was one of the first people I knew who, she had a low income clinic in Sacramento for women and families who really couldn't afford access to child care. And she passed away of cancer, 2005, but she just had this sort of very profound understanding of women. She knew women's issues and women's health issues and women's reproductive rights issues. And she knew about the struggles women face to get access to healthcare and abortion and stuff. And I just thought, although this book doesn't have a lot to do with that, you know, she was someone who really opened my eyes to what it's like for a person who's advantaged, you know, a white upper middle class doctor, to really work with a group of women who are incredibly needy and who, you know, would benefit from this extraordinary care that she and her ex-husband, they worked together, provided. So it seemed like, I thought she'd really like the book if she was still alive. And I sort of thought that, you know, she was someone who really opened my eyes to different issues in facing women in the world. So that's why. And thank you so much for asking.
Oh yeah, of course. I saw it. I finished the book and then I just went back to flip through the first couple of pages, and I was like, I don't know who this is. You know, and I figured it's Women's History Month right now. We're in March, and so I was like, I think I should ask her about that. So.
She has a I don't know if it's still in there, but she wrote a chapter that is in the original Our Bodies Ourselves, that like seminal text for like women's health and body issues, and like everything from reproductive health to, you know, sexual health to, you know, child rearing. And was like a text that, I mean, I'm a bit older than you, but like any kid who grew up in the 70s and 80s, like your parents had that book, and like she had a chapter in there. So like that was when I found that out, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
I'll have to look it up.
Bodies Ourselves. Yeah. It's real. It's a really like, it's so funny. It was just like because now they have the internet, you know, but when you're a kid, like this volume of like health information was in your house.
Yeah. So what's next for you? Are you going to do some more middle grade stuff? You have another novel coming out?
I'm not, you know, I really wanted to finish that Epica series, but that's not possible, unfortunately. it's also would be like, it's not possible, but it's also impossible too. You know,
Mhm.
I can't do it for reasons to do with Vanessa's wishes, which I completely respect.
Yeah.
But also, it just seems hard without Kobe. You know,
Mhm.
although I wrote those books start to finish, like his vision was so
Vital. Mhm.
yeah, vital. That's a great word. Thanks. Vital. I'm always like overwhelming, you know, because it sort of was too. I'm like,
Oh, I'm sure.
but vital is really a great word. So I'm writing a novel, you know, similar. I kind of think of Wonder Valley and These Women as two parts of the same story, and not the same people, but like the same world. And
Yeah.
I kind of writing a third book in that space, and then I kind of want to like push California off a cliff and like destroy it in my book and like never write about it again. Like 3 dark California novels. I'm like,
Yeah.
we got landslide at the end of this book that just like that's it, you know, like it's gonna get destroyed.
Yeah.
Because my work will, I feel like my work with California darkness will be done at the end of this book.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I read that These Women is optioned for TV or something, right?
Yeah, it's like it's optioned by Bruce Miller, who did The Handmaid's Tale, or does The Handmaid's Tale. I keep saying did The Handmaid's Tale, but like season 4 just came out.
Yeah.
So, and you know, it's crawling through that process. I don't have like, I'm not particularly. I mean, I love it more than anything, but like, I also don't care at the other level because the book is a book, and like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone who writes books just be like, oh, I hope I get a TV deal.
Right.
Like, I'm not gonna write. I mean, maybe I'll write on that show, but I'm not like. I live in LA, but I'm not like busy with irons in the fire over there in Hollywood. It's like literally over there, like pointing out my window.
Yeah.
Or actually, well, northwest.
Somewhere.
But you know, so yes, hopefully it will happen, and hopefully I'll get to work on it if it does. But if it doesn't, you know, you keep on moving and write another book because, like, I'm a book writer.
Absolutely. Yeah. I cannot wait to tell people more about this book because people need to read it. It's so good. And where can readers find you online before I let you go?
Yeah, absolutely. I am www.ivypochoda.com. I'm Lady Miss Ivy on Instagram, and I do respond to your Instagram messages. Just don't ask me to send a care package to Vanessa, like, please. I get 100 of them. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Private message, and I'm on Facebook, my private Facebook page, which I guess I made public. So you can find me any of those places.
Okay, great. Well, Ivy, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. Such a pleasure to catch up with you, and I look forward to whatever you're going to write next.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching our BookFest Revisited series. See below for links to the author's social media pages and links to our catalog if you want to request any of their titles. Want to be notified when our newest videos come out? Click or tap on the red subscribe button. Happy reading!